The 90s, the golden age of gaming, when everything just clicked. It wasn't about picking up a game based on the cool cover art anymore. We had star power games. These were titles that had everyone talking, thanks to magazines like Game Players and Game Informer telling us that this is the game you need to play. Forget what critics said, we just wanted to be part of the buzz. So to celebrate all that this decade had to offer, I put together a list of the top 10 video games that were popular in the 90s. Without further delay, let's get on with it. Number 10, Warcraft II, Tides of Darkness. Kicking things off at number 10, we've got Warcraft II, Tides of Darkness, the game that laid the groundwork for one of the biggest gaming franchises ever. Before there was World of Warcraft, there was just Warcraft. Warcraft II was the title that put the series on the map. This real-time strategy game, set in a fantasy world, drew millions of PC players and paved the way for World of Warcraft to emerge later. But even without World of Warcraft in the picture, Warcraft II was a total game changer. It took everything that made the original great, base building, resource management, and epic battles between orcs and humans, and then cranked it up to 11. The graphics were a huge step up for the time, and the voice lines? Iconic. I mean, who doesn't remember the peons cheerfully yelling, "Zug Zug"? What really set Warcraft II apart was its multiplayer mode. This was one of the first times that PC gamers could battle friends over a local network, or even through a dial-up modem if you were patient enough. It brought strategy gaming into living rooms and dorm rooms everywhere. Number 9, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. This game earns its spot in the top 10 for being the coolest mix of killer tricks, unforgettable music, and non-stop fun that defined a whole gaming generation. There were a lot of great skateboarding games in the 90s, but none came close to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series, especially the second edition. The way that the game combined tight, responsive controls with addictive score-chasing gameplay made it the ultimate pick-up-and-play experience. The level design was iconic. From the school level to the hangar, every environment was packed with secret areas, unique lines, and inventive objects. And we have to talk about the soundtrack. Rage Against the Machine, Bad Religion, Power Man 5000. This was a game that introduced a whole generation to punk and alt-rock music, including myself. Now, even today, you can pick up Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 and have a blast. There's a reason this game is so fondly remembered, and why people went wild when the remake dropped. It's just pure fun. Number 8, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Zooming into number 8 on our list is a game that defined fast-paced fun in the 90s, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. The 90s were the peak of the Sonic franchise, and Sonic 2 was the ultimate entry. Everything the original Sonic game did, Sonic 2 just did better. Fast-paced platforming, better level design, new power-ups, the introduction of Tails, and arguably one of the best soundtracks in gaming history. This was the game that helped solidify the Sega Genesis as a serious competitor to the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and Sonic found himself a pop culture icon because of it. Now, the spin dash, co-op gameplay with Tails, and the game's supercharged speed just made it stand out in a really big way, because it was flashy, it was fast, fun, and totally addictive. Sonic 2 was such a hit that it even caught the attention of Michael Jackson, who later composed music for Sonic 3. For many players, this was their very first gaming obsession, and it still holds up today. Number 7, Super Metroid. Coming in at number 7 on our list is Super Metroid. Released in 1994 for the SNES, or Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Metroid redefined open-ended platforming games. At a time when most platformers were pretty straightforward, this one flipped the script and gave us a taste of true open-world platforming. It built on what made the original Metroid and Metroid 2 great, and then dialed everything up to 11. The graphics were some of the best on the Super Nintendo, and controls super responsive. The game gave players a ton of new cool abilities, and the soundtrack? Creepy and atmospheric, all in the right ways. The story was more engaging too, with clear hints of lore sprinkled throughout. One of the biggest game changers was the inclusion of a map. Finally. It made tracking your progress and exploring the world so much easier. Number 6, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Now that's exactly why Ocarina of Time earns the number 6 spot on our list. It redefined what a video game really could be. Ocarina of Time is often considered the greatest video game of all time, and for good reason. It brought Zelda into the 3D realm flawlessly. The lock-on combat, the epic story, the time travel mechanics, everything about the game felt legendary. The world felt alive in a way that few games had achieved back then. From galloping across the Hyrule field on Epona to solving puzzles in the Water Temple, it was a true adventure. The music was unforgettable. The dungeons were masterfully designed, and the boss fights were all-time classics. Ocarina of Time wasn't just a great game from the 90s, it was a milestone for the entire industry. Number 5, Metal Gear Solid. Okay, I know some of you are probably ready to throw this game at number 1, but hear me out. For me, Metal Gear Solid, it's a little more dated than some of the other games here. That's not to say it's not worth revisiting, it definitely is, but you do have to deal with some of the quirks that had to be ironed out in later series. What's mind-blowing about this game, though, is how ahead of its time it was. For a lot of players, Metal Gear Solid was their first experience with a truly cinematic video game. We're talking full voice acting for every single dialogue piece, in-engine cutscenes, which then transition to full-motion video scenes that feel like a movie, and most importantly, an incredibly mature story for its time. The game wasn't just about saving the world, it took on heavy topics like criticizing nuclear weapons and whether your genetics control who you are as a person. The gameplay? Oh man, this was unlike anything we've ever seen before. Sure, stealth games existed, shout out to Tenchu and the original Metal Gear, but Metal Gear Solid perfected stealth and took it to a whole new level. Number 4, HalfLife. It was the most realistic and detailed first-person shooter of the decade. HalfLife was the best-selling PC shooter ever at the time. Speaking of games that aged really well, here's another that did a great job of pushing the story to the forefront. While Metal Gear Solid delivered its story in a cutscene-heavy cinematic way, Half-Life did the complete opposite. You never lost control of your character. Events would play out around you in real time while you still had full control to do as you pleased. There was something really unique about that. It helped immerse you in the game's world in a way that it hadn't really done before. The pacing of Half-Life is some of the best of any video game ever. You're constantly introduced to new enemies, weapons, and environments, and the game slowly increases the intensity and scale of everything in a really natural way. The AI also is very good, and unlike most shooters of the time, enemies actually had a strategy and worked together to try to bring you down. Yeah, the game might look dated now, but the gameplay is still rock solid, and there's still a massive fan base of people playing and modding the game to this day. Number 3, Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2 definitely earns the number 3 spot on our list. It's a game that changed horror gaming forever and set the bar for scary experiences. Horror gaming owes a lot to Resident Evil 2. It took what the first game did and then built on it in every possible way. Better graphics, a more emotional story, and the introduction of the zapping system, where choices in one character's story could affect the others. Now, the game managed to blend action, puzzle solving, and exploration with an overwhelming sense of dread. Limited resources, eerie music, and tight camera angles all work together to create a terrifying experience. And who could forget Mr. X chasing you through the Raccoon Police Department? Now, it's one of the more influential horror games ever made, and its legacy lives on through remakes, sequels, and a ton of spiritual successors. Number 2, one of my favorites, Pokemon Red and Blue. Pokemon is easily the biggest handheld series in gaming history, and it all started with Red and Blue. Released in '96 in Japan and 1997 in North America, these games not only put Pokemon on the map, but they also created a style of role-playing game that even the youngest gamers could follow. The open world, the concept of catching and training Pokemon, this style had never been seen before. Modern Pokemon games are still using this format because it just works. Red and Blue were later remade as Fire Red and Leaf Green in 2004 with updated visuals and a larger roster of Pokemon, plus multiplayer using the Game Boy Advance wireless adapter. And number 1, Super Mario 64. This game, it didn't just define a generation, it redefined how we play in 3D. Super Mario 64 was the moment the video games truly leveled up. This was the game that proved 3D platformers could work, and work brilliantly. When Super Mario 64 launched with the N64, it completely redefined what video games could be. The controls were incredibly smooth, the camera system was just revolutionary at the time, and the open world levels encouraged exploration over linearity. From jumping into paintings to hunting down power stars, to discovering hidden areas in Peach's castle, Super Mario 64 was a magical experience, and the fact that it holds up now is a testament to how ahead of its time it was. This game influenced every 3D platformer that came after it, and honestly, many still haven't caught up. And that wraps up my picks for the top 10 video games of the 90s. Whether you agree with the order or not, there's no denying that this decade gave us some of the greatest games of all time. Let me know in the comments which ones are your favorite and which ones I might have missed. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell if you want more gaming nostalgia coming your way. See you in the next one.